Okay, I'd like to spend a couple of minutes and talk about tide tables. The tide tables can be found also at the NOAA Tides and Currents address, and that's tidesandcurrents.noaa.gov. It'll bring you to this main page here, and if this is the first time that you've used it, the first thing you need to do is to identify your area of interest. And the easiest way to do that is to come over here to Products, click on Products, come down to NOAA Tide Predictions, click on that, then come down and find the state of California, and then here are listed all the different coastal areas. Come all the way down to San Francisco Bay. Um, and I'm interested in the Alameda Naval Air Station. This is the closest station to Ballina Bay. So I'm going to click on that, and it defaults to the closest day. Let me drill in on today. For some reason, it's not automatically going to today's day. It's a day off, so let's do this, and we'll plot this. Okay, so this is the current time. It's 6:19 p.m. This green line will tell you that this is the current line, the current date time, and this is what the tides are doing right at this moment. So right now there's an ebb tide, and the next thing I want to do is to pick the day that I intend to sail. And I want to pick a good day. This wouldn't necessarily have been a good day because in the morning you had this flood coming in, and in order to get up to Alameda, we'd have to fight this flood here. But I wanted to go over with you, for those of you who aren't familiar with tide charts, what you're looking at here is basically a grid, um, and usually the lowest line here represents the low tide average at whatever harbor you're leaving at. So we know that we're leaving at Ballina Bay Harbor. This line would represent our 7 foot mark. Okay. Um, Now, let me advance to a day that I know isn't going to be a good day to go sailing up to the Upper Bay. Let me go to August 10th. Pick your day here. And then you hit plot daily, and that'll remap it. So this is particularly a bad day for tides and currents, especially if you wanted to leave early in the morning. You can see we have a negative 1 foot point 0.9 low tide. Now, in this instance, whenever you have a negative tide, you're going to get another grid here. So this 0, 0, and typically on most tide charts, 0 is represents the low tide at your harbor. So we know that we have 7 feet here at Ballina Bay, and about 5:30 in the morning, it's a negative 1.9 low tide. Now, the boat I'm taking out is a Beneteau Oceanus 38. It has a 6 foot 9 inch draft. Now, our low tide at Ballina Bay is 7 feet. So there's no way that I'm going to leave at 5:30 in the morning when this is 1 foot 9 low tide here, or negative low tide. My draft will be stuck in the mud. And even if I waited a couple hours, normally we leave about 9:30. Even if I left at 9:30, like right in here, there wouldn't be any low tide issues because we're high enough. But look, we're fighting a flood that's coming in, filling the bay. Okay, so this would slow us down, even if I left at 9 o'clock, 9:30ish. Fighting this ebb is going to make getting that 2 hours to Angel Island even harder, because we're fighting this flood current. So this wasn't a good day to even go out. You could do it, but it's not the best day. I could pick a better day, and I did pick a better day. And the day that I picked was August 18th, a Saturday. Let's take a look at that. And plot that. So on the 18th, at about our departure time, which will be about 9:30ish, 9:30 and 10, you can see we have a nice ebb tide all the way out till 12. Now this ebb tide is going to help us get to the upper bay much faster than if there was a flood coming in. Okay, so this is a better day. We'll be getting off the boat about 12 o'clock here for lunch on Angel Island. Spend about an hour and a half, casting off about 1 o'clock. And about 1 o'clock, we'll be sailing the upper bay. By around 2, we should be over closer to the Golden Gate Bridge, just in time for a flood to come in. And we have a nice strong flood. We should have a nice max flood somewhere between 3 and 4 p.m. And this flood tide is going to help us push us back up into Alameda much faster than it would have been the other way around. So this is the day that I picked that we're going to be sailing on. I again print out this chart. And what's good about the NOAA site is you can actually tell it that you want to print the chart out, and it'll actually, you come over here to printer view, and it'll actually prepare this that you can either print to a printer or you can print it to a PDF. I like printing it to a PDF, so I'm going to change that to a PDF. Okay, and when I save it, it'll print it out to a PDF file, and I can pick up this file and share this with everyone. Okay, so let me close that. A nice printout. Also goes in the chart, in the binder, on the cruise. Okay. Let me go back to the 18th here. Now, I've picked the Alameda Naval Air Station because that's the closest to my port. You should pick the closest to your port, whatever that is. Most people use the Golden Gate tides as a general reference for the entire bay, but they're not exactly the same. They can be off as much as a foot during a high tide, and can be off up to 6 inches during a low tide. So if you're looking at the Golden Gate tides, and you're off by 6 inches and it's near low tide, you could still run into trouble. So it's best to use the station that's closer to your harbor. And instead of using the primary station like the Golden Gate, then going to the back of that and subtracting all those numbers to figure out what the tide is at the Alameda station, it's easier just to plug in the Alameda station and use that figure. And I have this address plugged in, so it defaults to my home port of Alameda when I open up tides and currents. That's something that you can do as well. So just quickly going over this table again on this day. This first line down here represents 7 feet for us. I have a 6-foot, 9-inch draft, and we have no low tide issues. Even at 6'9", I would be close to this line. We're going to be leaving between 9:30 and 10, and that's giving us a good 3-foot clearance under our keel. So we have no low tide issues at all on the morning leaving. Likewise, coming back during this flood, we definitely have no low tide issues coming home. Okay, so this is going to be a good day to sail. The only thing that we're waiting for now is what the winds are going to be doing and the weather. So next what we're going to do is we've checked our chart for our low tide at our harbor. We've checked the tide tables to determine what the tide is actually going to be doing. The next thing you want to do is to find out what the currents are going to be doing for the day. Okay, so for currents, I use the NOAA tide and current tables and come in here to Golden Gate currents. I do use the Golden Gate currents because they're a really good indicator of what's happening throughout the bay as far as the currents are concerned. Come down here to August. August 18th is right here. And then what I also like doing is taking a snippet of this as well. Let me grab that. And this is a snippet that I use, and I actually superimpose on that this yellow highlight so I can actually see what's going on here on this day. So as we mentioned, we're going to be departing in the morning between 9:30 and 10. Here at 10:24 in the morning, we can see we have a nice strong 2.1 knot ebb that's going to push us out into the bay. We have a slack tide about 1:30, which will be perfect for approaching the Golden Gate after lunch. And in the afternoon, we have a maximum flood current coming in about 4:14. 4:14 in the afternoon. We have a 1.8 knot flood that'll push us in to home port in the afternoon. So we have a good 2.1 ebb in the morning. So if we're cruising at 6 knots, this will give us an extra couple of knots. We should be cruising about 8 knots in the morning. And then coming back, this 1.8 knots will help us get home faster. Again, I print this out. It goes in the binder, it goes on the boat, so everybody can know what those currents are doing. Okay, so we've covered our chart, we've covered our tides, and now we've covered our currents.